Historian Eric Saul will never forget the day Clarence Matsumura walked up to him at the National Japanese-American Society of San Francisco and told him something he couldn't believe.
And he says, I know you're opening up an exhibit, but you have to tell our story of how we liberated Dachau. He says, what do you mean? He says, we liberated the prisoners, the Jewish prisoners. We saved them from the Nazis. And I said, I've never heard that. So he went running out to his car. In his trunk, he had a blue album with pictures of the prisoners that he had liberated, and he had spent 2 days taking care of prisoners, feeding them, giving them. He said, I gave him pancakes and soup. When he told me the story, he was crying. He said, you're the first person I've told this story in 47 years.
Before the war, Clarence's family owned a grocery store in Hollywood, California. They were incarcerated at Hard Mountain, so he volunteered for duty and became a member of the 522nd Field Artillery Battalion, part of the highly acclaimed 442nd Regimental Combat Team, comprised solely of Nisei soldiers. It was spring of 1945. He was the very tip of the spear of American forces pushing into Germany. He had the dangerous job of a forward observer, driving ahead, finding the retreating Nazis, and reporting their position to American forces.
All of a sudden, we heard shots.
This is rare footage of Clarence in 1986, talking about what happened as he rolled into Dachau. The shots he's referring to are German machine guns, Nazi guards trying to kill as many Jewish inmates as possible before fleeing from the invading Americans. He had no idea that he had stumbled upon the Death March. Emaciated inmates in striped uniforms, many of them dead, others barely alive.
During this march, almost half of the prisoners died.
And you could tell every one of them was more than starved. They had been forced marched. The people that have been strong enough was scattering anytime we came close.
The inmates were scared. Clarence's uniform and white star on his vehicle were clearly U.S., but his face was Japanese.
And they were thinking that we were from Japan, had given up and had joined forces with the United States, and we were now fighting on the U.S. side.
Once they realized he was American, they knew they were liberated.